This paper was presented at the Australian and New Zealand Masonic Research Council Biennial Conference, held in Sydney, Australia from the 17th to the 19th of October 2024. Material for the paper was collated as a community project on the From the Quarries channel, drawing data from users around the world.
Ever wonder what the future holds for, one of the world's oldest and, let's be honest, most mysterious organizations? We're talking Freemasonry.
Yeah.
And today's deep dive is about to give you some serious insider knowledge.
It's not every day we get insights from both Masons and the general public,
Right.
all in one place.
Exactly.
This global survey connected to the From the Quarries YouTube channel
Okay.
polled over 2,000 people,
Wow.
giving us a fascinating snapshot of Freemasonry in the digital age.
A snapshot, you say?
Yeah.
So we're not talking like dusty rituals and dimly lit lodges.
Well, not entirely.
Okay.
The survey revealed a surprising desire for tradition,
Really?
even in today's fast-paced world.
There are 5 sections to this presentation. 1. Introduction and purpose. 2. Statistics and demographics. 3. Methodology, looking at the distribution of responses, tiling responses, and moderation of comments. 4. Analysis of the results, including a summary, an examination of the key themes, and an exploration of some of the contradictions contained. And 5. Recommendations and observations drawn from the study. Using data sourced from the Masonic Service Association of the United States, it can be seen that membership numbers of Freemasons in the US have fluctuated widely over the last 100 years. It can be said, potentially, that these membership numbers tend to map to major societal events. However, there has been a significant decline evident from highs in the early 1960s to a very low figure today. This represents a 65-year trend of consistent decline in numbers, from a high in 1959 to the low 2024 figures. While it's not as easy to get data for other jurisdictions in the world, the trend in the USA seems to match that of other major jurisdictions internationally. If the data is mapped against major social events over the last 100 years, there seems to be some correlation, with a spike following the First World War, a significant decline during the Great Depression, and then a major growth through the baby boom period following the war, followed by the 65-year decline I referred to earlier. Zooming in on the last 10 years, you can see that there has been almost 10% decline across that period between 2013 and 2023. This is not to say that there haven't been numerous efforts made to address the decline in numbers. Worldwide, there have been attempts at modernization, increased transparency, an emphasis on the philosophical nature of Freemasonry, enhancement of community engagement, and attempts to leverage modern technology. None of these, as can be seen, have had any measurable impact upon the rate of decline of Masonic membership.
There is almost no visibility of the lodge in my area. The only reason I knew the lodge was there is because I serviced it on my route one day. I personally would like to be able to visit the lodges near me, say open days perhaps with written requests to do so. A little insight and a peek at history. Please allow visits. Please have teaching days to non-brothers sincerely interested in learning.
The purpose of this study is to investigate contemporary perceptions and anticipated future trajectories of Freemasonry, to identify the factors relating to relevance and the evolution of the craft in contemporary society. I also wanted to explore the seemingly contradictory aims of maintaining traditional practices while embracing innovation.
Virtual lodges are a step in the right direction, but cannot reasonably be properly tiled, which may be a good thing. I've always advocated that every Cowan and eavesdropper is merely showing interest, a step towards becoming a brother.
The platform for the study was the From the Quarries channel, which includes a YouTube channel, a website, and social media. To do this, a survey was distributed to 7,500 channel members between March and April 2024. The survey comprised 10 questions, and 2,007 responses were received. Breaking down the responses, as would be expected on a Masonic channel, 94.1% of the respondents were male, 5.8% were female, and 0.1% were unspecified sex. Respondent ages ranged from 18 to 65 plus, with the majority of the responses being received in the 35 to 54 year age bracket. There was a significant percentage in the 25 to 34 year old bracket, 19.4%, and numbers started to taper off beyond that in the 55 to 64 and 65 plus brackets. Significantly, only a very small percentage, 2.9%, were in the 18 to 24 year old age bracket. The location of the respondents was almost 50% in the USA. From there, the UK had 9.5%, Canada 3.3%, Australia 2.9%, the Philippines 1.2%, and the other 34.7% of respondents were spread across 63 other nationalities. It was really interesting to me to see that the viewing device used to respond to the survey was predominantly on mobile phone. 57.1% of respondents were accessing content on their mobile phones, 20.2% on television, only 16.6% were using a computer or a laptop, and 7.3% were using a tablet.
Our Masonic ceremonies are of vital value, but they are too lengthy. We don't have time to muck around in Freemasonry. Time is a more valuable quality than ever, with increasing demands to make the best use of available time at our meetings. Shorten ceremonies, because it will lead to further developments.
As mentioned earlier, the methodology for this paper was the distribution of survey questions. 10 questions were posted on YouTube, social media, and the From the Quarries website. Participants were provided with 5 possible responses and were also invited to provide written feedback. Clearly, these are all open channels, so a de facto type of tiling was conducted through a separate Masonic quiz published weekly. The responses to the quiz indicated that approximately 13% of respondents were not Freemasons or were Cowans. The other feature of the study is the nature of online communication. Comments are unfiltered and they're frequently abusive. So I created a light-hearted taxonomy to filter the responses between 5 key demographic groups. Here is the taxonomy, as I understand it, of the YouTube and online commentariat. Starting from the bottom, there is a small but significant group who I refer to as the trollsmiths. These people use unconsidered obscenity and thoughtless abuse, and all they're seeking is a bite. So their responses are very easy to disregard, and in most cases, they are hidden from view from the channel. A separate group are the group that I call the arcane shouters. These are devotees of arcane beliefs and cults. They're a distinct group from the tin foilers, who I'll get to shortly, but these responses tend to be in all capitals and make it very clear that the owners of these comments hold the secret and they're not willing to share it with anybody else. Another distinct and increasingly large group are what I call the repentatrons. These tend to be religious fundamentalist groups, predominantly Christian, although some other religions are represented, who are warning dire consequences of any belief that doesn't accord to their particular interpretation of Scripture. The final group before we get to the main respondents are what I call the tin foilers. Tin foilers are conspiracy theorists. They're New World Order peddlers. They're convinced in the existence of the Illuminati, the lizard people, and the fact that all Freemasons are actually secretly part of a New World Order controlling the future. If only. The final group I refer to as the stonecutters. These are serious and measured responses attempting to add value to the questions, and significantly, the majority of these, you can tell from the tone of the responses, are from practicing Freemasons. Please note that the triangle taxonomy on the screen does not represent the number of responses. It's just a way of visually representing the 5 different categories the responses tend to fall into. The scope of the survey extended to 10 questions. Firstly, what is your perception of Freemasonry's relevance in today's society? Second, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing Freemasonry today? Third, in what ways do you think Freemasonry can adapt its rituals and ceremonies to be more engaging for the modern member while still preserving its core principles? Fourth, how important do you think the maintenance of the secrecy and purity of the rituals of Freemasonry is from a 21st century perspective? Fifth, what do you think Freemasonry's role in contributing to the community and global issues in the 21st century should be? Sixth, how do you think Freemasonry can improve its public image and communication with the general public? Seventh, what role do you think technology and digital platforms should play in the future of Freemasonry? Eighth, how do you think Freemasonry should play a role in promoting intercultural dialogue? Ninth, which of the following is your preference for the future of Freemasonry? And 10th, what changes or evolutions do you think will be necessary for Freemasonry to flourish over the rest of the century?
The truth is, anyone with a spare $20 can own Duncan's monitor, or find the ritual for free online. Secrecy is a quaint notion. Even the purity of the ritual is a phantom, given the differences that exist from Grand Lodge to Grand Lodge. It's important for the individual to have the inner dialogue and sincerity. The secrecy is self-imposed and builds character of a chivalrous nature. I believe, therefore, it is beneficial to both the brotherhood and the brother himself.
The analysis of the responses revealed several key themes. First, the relevance of Freemasonry. The majority of respondents found Freemasonry highly relevant in today's society. This was supported by both the quantitative data and the qualitative comments, which tended to emphasize the importance of the organization's historical and philosophical significance. There was, however, a noted generational gap, with older members finding greater relevance and younger members facing challenges in understanding and engaging with the craft.
In my district in Ontario, Canada, all of our lodges are seeing members returning and also a good number of new members. Young men have a need for the craft, but they don't have the slightest understanding of what it is and what it has to offer.
The second key theme were the membership challenges being faced by the craft. Membership decline was identified as the most significant challenge facing Freemasonry globally. Respondents expressed concerns about the sustainability of the organization due to an aging membership and difficulty in attracting younger members. Public perception, influenced by misinformation and conspiracy theories, was another major concern, which seemed to affect the ability to attract new members.
Use modern technology to hold some meetings throughout the year, not all, just some. It is possible to reach tens of thousands across the world for many inspirational mentors and coaches.
The third key theme was the adaptation of rituals and practices. Enhancing education within Freemasonry was the most favoured adaptation, with a strong emphasis on learning, memorization, and bonding through Masonic activities. Incorporation of technology and updating language were also seen as important, although there was a desire to preserve traditional methods and rituals. I think significantly, shortening ceremonies was suggested by some as a practical adaptation to fit the busyness of the modern world and modern schedules.
Membership will decline to the point where there will be insufficient resources to sustain the bureaucracy of modern Freemasonry, as well as maintain the noble temples inherited from the past. The biggest challenge facing Freemasonry. Change in the outside world is accelerating much faster than within and at the interfaces. Its aging members have neither the mental, physical, nor financial resources, nor time to develop and deliver a compelling vision for the future to avoid collapse. Lodges are closing all around the world, mostly due to how public perception and conspiracy nonsense has created an inability to attract the younger, faster-paced, tech-inclined crowd.
The fourth key theme was the role of Freemasonry in community and global issues. Leading of charitable and educational initiatives was viewed as a primary role for Freemasonry in the 21st century. This aligned well with the organization's values and offers opportunities for members to contribute meaningfully in their own local communities. The promotion of peace and intercultural dialogue was also considered important, although there is a significant support for maintaining a neutral and apolitical stance to avoid potential conflicts.
If you voted no changes needed, you must be okay with it dying, which it is. It is in a sense dying. That is because it has become stagnant, because there are so many lodges that have refused to do anything different than they were taught to.
The fifth key theme was public image and communication. The holding of regular public events and open houses was seen internationally as an effective way to improve Freemasonry's public image. This approach was seen as a way of demystifying the organization and engaging with the broader community. Additionally, an active social media presence and forming partnerships with social enterprises were also highlighted as critical strategies for modernizing communication and enhancing the visibility of the craft.
No getting away from the very fast-forward movement to digital, whether communication or currency, it's here and now. If one doesn't move forward, then stagnation will encompass, and all will be left behind and lose out. This does not mean, however, the old ways be abandoned. On the contrary, they should be the cornerstone for the new future build.
The sixth key theme was the use of technology and digital platforms. Technology was viewed as primarily useful for educational purposes and for enhancing global Masonic collaboration. There was strong support for modernizing communication through the use of digital platforms. However, there is a corresponding sentiment to preserve traditional methods, with some respondents advocating for a minimal role for technology to ensure the integrity of Freemasonry's core values and rituals.
A fraternity for the 21st century man needs to comprehend the limited time of a father working 60-plus hours a week. When we meet, we must focus on value-added activities. Do you want new brothers and to keep some good ones? You know, the involved ones in their 30s and 40s. With families, less is more. Less is more indeed. Less titles, less meetings, and less speeches and egoing. Make what we have golden.
The final key theme was looking at future preferences and the changes that will be necessary. The most favoured preference for the future is the maintenance of traditional practices without significant changes, reflecting a desire to preserve the core identity of Freemasonry. The enhancement of global collaboration, increased transparency, and adopting more inclusive membership policies are also identified as important changes required to ensure the organization's growth and relevance in the coming decades.
Remove the mid-century innovation of catechism, memorization and initiation slowdown, as well as the now unnecessary ciphers, and move on. Plenty of appendant bodies read straight from clear text in their work, and no one has died from the horror. It's all on the internet already. What matters is the practice of building discipline and integrity within individuals as they keep and preserve the knowledge within the fraternity, not on actually keeping it secret. So stop pretending like it's a secret.
3 elements of contradiction could be found in the survey findings. The first one related to the preservation of traditional values versus modernization. There is a clear tension between the desire to preserve traditional practices and the need to adapt to contemporary societal changes. While many respondents emphasized the importance of maintaining rituals and core values, others advocated for modernization through technology, updated practices, and other significant structural changes to the craft as we know it today.
The words themselves carry meaning. Truth is beheld differently to different people. If cell phones existed when EA was being written, surely the obligation would have something about digital communication. They are a product of their time, but communicate something timeless. We should focus on educating brothers on the meaning of the rituals. There are some key things that must not be left out.
The second contradictory finding was around attitudes towards public engagement versus secrecy. The balance between improving public image and maintaining secrecy was another point of contention. Some respondents believed increased transparency and public engagement were essential for combating misconceptions, while others feel that the secrecy of rituals is integral to Freemasonry's identity.
Become more secretive again and focus more on the knowledge and less on charity. We've lost our mystique and therefore no interest would be expected. Who wants to be part of a glamorous charity? Our priority should always be based around truth. Bringing people on that want to join a social club are the wrong men. We are thinking men, not drinking men.
The third area of contradiction was around inclusivity versus exclusivity. The need for more inclusive membership policies was clearly recognized, yet there was also a strong sentiment to keep Freemasonry as a selective and sought-after organization. There seems to be a strong challenge there to balance inclusivity with a tradition of exclusivity. Overall, the primary recommendations produced by the survey were that there is a need to enhance educational programs, there is a need to increase transparency and public engagement, there is a need to preserve traditional practices while simultaneously adapting to modern needs, there is a need to foster global collaboration and unity among lodges, and a desire to adopt more inclusive membership policies. Other items of note coming from the survey were the need for a balance between secrecy and public engagement, the need to utilize technology for enhanced communication and education, the need to emphasize community service and philanthropy, the need to promote intercultural dialogue, and the need to maintain stability and continuity in the craft. For a deep dive into the history, philosophy, and traditions of Freemasonry, subscribe to From the Quarries. You will find hundreds of lectures, presentations, shorts, and other Masonic works written by Freemasons for Freemasons. Visit fromthequarries.com or YouTube at From the Quarries.